Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. First of all, let me start out to thank the founder of the conference, Dr. Ali Iran Manesh, and his team for a great event that I think everybody enjoys. High caliber speakers and very valuable and relevant content, I must say. And I'm sure that all participants feel the same, and the industry is going to benefit from, let's say, rapid IoT adoption given these specialists and their insight. When Ali invited me to speak a few months ago, a company came to mind I met about 2 years ago for the first time. Atonomics. They visited us basically at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. And the CEO came from Denmark with a small orange case carrying a device. And he said to me, this will revolutionize diagnostics and the healthcare space. And it will help patients actually around the world to understand the risks of potential chronic diseases, why they have them, and to make better lifestyle choices, quite honestly. And to allow them to live with the condition and to improve their overall quality of life. So when I was driving Samsung's IoT strategy by the time with our platform Arctic, I was so impressed that we have decided to help them to take this product and connect it to the internet. The product on its own, Trace, the platform that I will show in a minute, is impressive on its own. But it really becomes part of a growing ecosystem in the healthcare space that we heard already today about, and which actually gives the product and the platform for the patients much more value. So today I'm, as mentioned, on their board, and I'm responsible for strategy, go-to-market, and also business development, so how a company like that can make money. And quite honestly, I would like to share some of the elements of go-to-market with you so you understand what is the cadence, what is the process of bringing IoT product to market and actually make money off of it, right? Which might be of interest for many here in the room as well. So let me introduce Atonomics and their platform Trace in a short video to you, and I would like to ask the producer to start the video.
Research can be done and used in thousands of different ways. A newspaper can tell you about the world, an app can tell you the weather, and your watch can make sure you're on time. At Atonomics, we have been researching in blood. Our research has made it possible for us to create and develop a device that allows you to make high technological blood analysis at home. For parents to a diabetic child, this means that they can carry out a doctor's visit in their own home, avoiding traffic, waiting rooms, and a time delay for the tests to go through a lab, making it possible to assess the results in minutes wherever they would like. Trace is more than a device for chronic care. It can prevent conditions before they arise. Daily routines such as weighing yourself and taking a shower can be combined with a better focus on your health. A simple finger prick and your blood can be analyzed and the results on your phone before your first coffee. Let your partner in life become your partner in health. For Peter and Lise, this allows them to check the status of their rheumatic arthritis at home, instead of spending a day at the hospital. Use Trace to optimize your health and free up time in your daily schedule to do what you care for.
Yeah, I think all of us feel the same. Isn't this fantastic, right? I'm sure you share, maybe you can switch back to the presentation. I'm sure you share my excitement here. A great accomplishment of a dedicated team. Can you switch back to the presentation? Okay, thank you. A great accomplishment of a dedicated team of biomedical experts, hardware, software, analytics engineers, and medical specialists, quite honestly, that medical specialists that have worked hard for 10 years to deliver this innovation, right? So they have essentially shrunk and miniaturize a blood lab, right, into the size of the palm of your hand, right, and allow basically clinically grade data to be available on consumer level. It has in addition also sensors. These sensors are disposables. These are the assays that are very relevant to the system, right? So one drop of blood is sufficient, right, to dispense here in this sensor. And the sensor will analyze in this machine trace your blood at lab accuracy with CE mark approval in Europe. They have accomplished this after 10 years. So you're now able to connect with your own body. So you're sensing the voice of your body. We're getting information every day, but quite honestly, we feel certain conditions, but we don't know. We don't know the facts, right? And Trace will give you the opportunity to really understand your health condition, to get valuable insight, and to become, quite honestly, aware, sensitized to your own condition, right? And you might feel this in the room right now. As you get older, you want to get more information because you're more perceptive, you're more aware, and quite honestly, you care because it matters to you, to your beloved ones, and to the family, right? When you're young, so what, right? But as you grow older, you're becoming more perceptive to your own voice of the body, and you would like to know. And if you go to your physician every now and then, maybe every 18 months, maybe every 24 months, you might experience something, but it's a short engagement with your physician, and you will basically leave the venue again, and you will suppress the feeling there might be something not quite okay, right? But if you have a device, if you have a communication tool, you're becoming engaged with the core. So connecting then via IoT with your physician, telemedicine applications as potential IoT ecosystem services, they will become part of that growing space and will help also in the future to disrupt this sector. Healthcare, we heard about the size of the sector, which is just incredible, will help to disrupt as it has grown the last 150, 200 years on its own. So also interesting for you to know is Nestle funded this company. Nestle is one of the biggest food manufacturers in the world, right? They of course have potentially with their food caused a lot of damage to start with, right? Whether it's too much coffee or it's too much candy or it's too much of both, they are aware. They make a lot of money, quite honestly, with unhealthy food, right? So now they're investing some of that money back to help develop the tools to gain better insight on the personal care side. They know that this is coming. They know they need to invest into this, right? A company called Campbell Soup has invested into a digestible sensor company, right, to get better insight about the medical side of the impact of their food, right? So there's a strong correlation between food consumption, lifestyle choices, of course, and actually chronic diseases. A couple of interesting information here. A lot of changes ahead. Did you know that 65% of our children today in elementary school will work in jobs that don't exist today? When I look at my children, so my son is 9 years old, he's in 3rd grade, right? The way he talks, the way he behaves, the way he interacts with his environment, his social environment, but also with technology, also with his society, with the community, knowing what all happens fast on the sideline tells me that, yes, he will likely end up working in a field that honestly I don't even know yet, right? So things will happen at an accelerated pace, and a couple of facts here, right? If you dream about to retire in the next 9 years, be well prepared, because the healthcare cost will triple, right? Either you have good savings, or you're very healthy, or you get rid of healthcare altogether, right? So the healthcare cost will triple from $8,000 today, roughly, to $25,000 in 2025. The amount of diabetics only in the United States has increased from 2000 to 2014, has doubled, and it would likely triple the next 10 years as we believe the forecasts. Right? These are dramatic numbers, and diabetic 1 usually is preceded by diabetic 2, which could be reversible. Right? So we should better know if we don't want to be impacted before it actually happens, right? I've been asked yesterday whether this is the same prick and sugar analysis tool like Bayer, et cetera. No, it's not. It actually helps you to better read the tea leaves before you become a diabetic, and it gives lifestyle choices, so you have an opportunity to avoid it. Also, the devices at home will triple, right? 50 million devices today will go to 150 million devices at home in about 9 years from now. And also what's interesting, and we're all part of this, baby boomers, welcome. The population of 65 years and older will make out 14% in 2000, or has made 14% in 2015, and it will increase to 21% in 2020. So luckily we're getting older, right? But also, as we're getting older, we want to participate in good lifestyle choices, and we want to maintain healthy to have an opportunity to basically reduce our healthcare cost. So changes in the market can create also new opportunities, and I believe this is a good insight, and the pre-speakers also shared with us that having an insight about the future will give us opportunity to create new businesses, new product, and new services in the future to come. Bottom line is that as many industries has been disrupted already, and leading companies such as Amazon, Uber, and Airbnb have demonstrated this very impressively, right? The transition of old industries that we never thought could innovate and could disrupt are on the rise in a large scale. And it has nothing to do only with money. It has nothing to do only with branding and with mightyful organizations. It actually has to do with understanding consumer trends, understanding their needs, really looking deep into the vertical chains and developing product and solutions that have the ability to disrupt, right? And I always remind myself to disrupt also. Ideally, we want to obsolete ourselves, right, as often as we can in order to learn as fast as we can. And that's also true for businesses and for companies, for them to prevent from disappearing. And so the healthcare sector need to reduce costs. The healthcare sector need to make diagnostics simple into everybody's hand in order to make choices, and need to increase the point of care, because today my Kaiser Permanente facility, when my wife and we moved into the country 12 years ago, it was empty, right? We found parking all the time, and we were impressed 12 years ago. And we were impressed. Today, we don't find parking. So there's an ever-increasing number of people, an influx of people into city spaces. And quite honestly, these things, such as lab work, can get done at home. Very easy and very simple. So if you look at the home, so what is our most valuable asset that we have in our lives? Certainly, most of you will agree with me here. It's our family, right? Our beloved ones. It's the health. It's the relationships that matter. And of course, it's also our home, because we're paying a lot of money for it. And the question is, how can we leverage this better? How can we continue, managing the asset and we love so much in a better way. And I have a simple vision, and the vision is every home will become a personal and a connected healthcare home, whether it's on the diagnostic sides or whether it's on lifestyle and good choices that increase quality of life right at home. And this is where it actually starts. It starts in the morning and it ends in the evening, and this is where we have a dramatic opportunity to have an impact on the quality of our life. Which then basically will give an opportunity for our loved ones, right, to wait in line with our best friends, right, and to take advantage right there. Very good. So a couple of things. So we spoke about Trace. You have seen it maybe at the display. Thank you again for offering the space to the startup company. So you take basically this disposable sensor, right? This is disposable. You only use it once. You open it up and you basically donate only 1 drop of blood, right? And you dispense it here in the sensor. You close it. You add it into the analyzer of Trace, and you get clinically grade, consumer-driven data that we all spoke about before. But here it's now happening for real. Trace is CE approved. The company will roll in Europe, in Germany, as well as in the UK and in France. And I'm also advising the company for FDA approval, because the American market is the largest consumer healthcare market for a company like Atonomics. FDA is a little bit more involved. There might be a step in between, like a clear waiver that people will sign in order to use the device at home. And what we also believe is very critical is to get the clinical endorsement. Without clinical endorsement, and we spoke about this yesterday, without clinical endorsement, you are on a lonesome island. The healthcare sector is very powerful, right? The politics, et cetera, and a startup company could become a victim here. So you need the clinical endorsement, you need the approval levels in order to participate basically in that league, right? So the head professor of University of Oxford in the UK says, Trace is ease of use and provides accurate results. It makes it highly desirable for diagnostics and management of diabetic patients and prevention of cardiovascular comorbidity. It has the capability to change the manner and the frequency in which patients and care providers access critical data. I think that's a very powerful endorsement which we would need in Europe, we would need in the United States, quite honestly, on a global basis, and also by the healthcare providers, that they see this as an opportunity and not as a threat. Okay, let's talk about, and I'm not a doctor, okay, and I'm not trying to mimic one, so I will be very generic. So please, the ones here in the audience that know medicine better than I, please don't challenge me. But here are some of the most relevant health conditions that are so important for 2 reasons. Number 1, we may have a chronic disease and we need to understand the voice of our body. Or we are health conscious and we might have a precondition and we're at risk and we want to be informed. And quite honestly, we don't want to get into the bracket of having a chronic disease because it's irreversible. So number 1 is certainly sugar, right? HbA1c, it's a 3-month average sugar, and the affected conditions are diabetes type 1, diabetes type 2, and gestational diabetes. Actionable output that Trace actually gives you, right? It connects you with A, the facts, B, the trend line, C, also, of course, with the physician who you want to have as your counselor by your side, of course. So it creates a sugar intake awareness. It helps you to make lifestyle changes, to exercise more. Now you have it. Now you have facts. Before you had indicators. Quite honestly, blood pressure, yes. Heart rate, maybe yes. Felt stress levels, maybe yes. Sleep, maybe yes. but the blood tells you the truth, and you cannot get away from the truth and the facts, right? And then, quite honestly, optimize medication. No overdoses, no side effects. We spoke about this with the previous speaker, and side effects with other medication. So getting an optimum on medication to maintain cost, but also to maintain integrity of the protection through medication. CRP is a marker that's reactive protein that helps you and your physician to better understand whether you have arthritis. What type of arthritis do you have? Different types of arthritis cause different reactions and different perceptions in the body. It's also helpful for certain pre-stage diagnostics for certain cancers, Alzheimer and Parkinson. And this is a very interesting one that also helps the doctor and the patient to better understand and communicate to dial in optimum medication, because these medications have a lot of side effects. They're very expensive and can help to optimize and to mitigate, to decrease side effects, but also to decrease cost. Cholesterol, last but not least. Number one reason for cardiovascular disease, for high blood pressure, for strokes, and for heart attacks. This is real stuff, right? And as you might have an opportunity to really learn about yourself and to be in constant dialogue with your physician and your healthcare provider, you know, other than 24 months or every 36 months, it might be too late. You know what you need to do in order to de-risk your profile of heart attack and strokes. Couple of numbers before we get into the real numbers. Okay, if we believe the predictions of GTB, Global Telecoms Business, the Gartners of the world, and they do a great job of forecasting these IoT verticals and the business. If we believe them, then the combined revenue of assisted living in the economy of IoT, the combined revenue potential of assisted living and clinical remote monitoring together is bigger than the IoT economy of connected and self-driving cars, right? But of course, it's much sexier to speak about connected and self-driving cars. But to me, this is more relevant. To me, this is more important. And how can we actually now unleash and unlock the value of IoT in assisted living and in clinical remote monitoring to reduce actually healthcare costs? An ecosystem, a growing ecosystem of devices can and will actually help, combined now with clinical data. While I like wearables, and we have heard a lot about wearables, right? And they're slick and they look very cute and they're sexy. At one point in time, the relevance of a wearable, quite honestly, you might have experienced this yourself, the relevance on the wrist of a wearable will diminish. You need to charge it. It gives you the same information all the time. It doesn't provide a lot of insight, right? But it's a fitness tracker. It helps on the fitness side, certainly. Also, the weight scale is important, right? Specifically for me. So we want to know more about the relevance between fitness, exercise, gyro, as well as pedometer and our weight. Of course, we love our fridge and the intake. We love our travel patterns of stress, sleep, and at home. All kinds of choices will contribute to a better understanding of our overall conditions. But if we really know how our health state is by providing real data of our blood, then it becomes actionable and it becomes relevant. And it can actually lead to better health. Okay, this is almost my last slide, and maybe this is the core slide. So I wanted to share with you, before we're actually launching Trace in the United States, a little bit the secret about the go-to-market plan. Okay, why is this important? I think we heard great statistics and strategies. We heard about security. We heard about the relevance of data, algorithm, etc., etc. But why does it actually matter? And how is a company like Atonomics trying to make money? Okay. So one thing for sure is that the healthcare space is so enormous and so big players, you cannot do it alone. So if anybody in the room and outside of the room wants to launch a successful product in IoT in whatever sector, and you try to do this alone, the chances that you fail are very high. Or you have very deep pockets and you have a lot of money, right? But then you fail later. Okay? So you need to partner. You need to make friends, like in real life, right? In real life, we also don't want to have only enemies. We want to have friends in order to be happy and successful. Very similar in business, right? Specifically, if you're small, you want to create partnerships, partnerships that matter, partnerships that are committed with a very specific outcome in mind, and not only with a press release, right? The press release is just the beginning. But living a partnership is actually a lot of work, right? As you might know as well. So there's a double or triple prong approach to trace. Trace would need to have the endorsement by the healthcare provider, by the insurer, whether it's Kaiser, Anthem, Aetna, or many other, Blue Shield. It needs to be clinically endorsed in the matter that the healthcare provider says, well, I might be willing to subscribe this to a patient with a precondition. Now you might think, well, this is very expensive. My answer to this is, this device is designed to manufacturing at a cost point of below $400. Who would not spend $400 for a device and invest into your own future, right? Even if it might be prescribed, of course, by the healthcare provider, because we want to have some back from our investment. Right? One capsule, one disposable per assay is anywhere in retail between $5 and $12. Who wouldn't want to spend that to better understand the health, whether I do it once a week, every 2 weeks, etc., etc. So we need to have a relationship with the insurer. Also, we need to have built an ecosystem of partners that are in the wearable space, right? Think of S-Health platform of Samsung. Think of Google Fit. Think of Philips and Apple. Everybody wants and will go into the healthcare and fitness space and want to participate there with their data platform. We heard a lot about analytics today. And also with their sensors, with their devices. And then also the data need to be securely stored and aggregated in cloud platforms, whether it's the Googles of the world, Amazon's, Philips, Samsung. It needs to have a secure repository, HIPAA compliant, actionable, and actually on top of the cloud to find the developing ecosystem of partners that generate the valuable services on trace, such as telemedicine. Not everybody is health insured. Not everybody will be health insured. But people are perceptive, right? And they are conscious of their health. And they might buy services and a product services as you need them, okay? In a shared economy. And then, of course, most importantly, there's the patient. And you see the value the value arrows and the relationships amongst those ecosystem partners, just as an example. But it gives you a good overview how we try to get with Trace and how we will get with Trace into the market, right? One channel is going to be the healthcare provider, the other channel is going to be pharmacies and diagnostics, and the other will be also an end consumer play, as people might want to buy this online. Yes, please. Okay. And I'm basically there. So as you see, BloodWorks costs you, or costs the healthcare provider. Now we wonder where's our $8,000 going, right? The BloodWorks roughly dependent on the depth, is anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000. So I assumed $1,500 and 3 times per year. That makes an annual a contribution of $4,500. If you do this with Trace, it's basically $240, right? The patient-physician interaction on the healthcare side is fair, right? He might have a dialogue with you, but he might not. We might choose that, or he might choose that, but it's a very spontaneous and once at a time dialogue. Actually, it's no dialogue. With Trace, it's very likely that there's a constant dialogue between you, Trace, as well as your healthcare provider and the service. The value, as you would all agree, is high. The savings, roughly $4,000 a year. Reduced premiums from Trace, very likely to happen. And revenue for a company like Atonomics is roughly $240 per patient. An active ecosystem on the healthcare on the traditional side, no. It's usually it's a point healthcare system. And with Trace in IoT, it's fitness devices, professional health services, apps, lifestyle choices, etc. And what's the impact for the community? Premiums will likely increase. We have seen the forecast. And with Trace, right, and an ecosystem, premiums usually we will be healthier, which is most important. We're engaged in the community. We're engaged with us, and we can count on lowering premiums. So what it means for a company like Trace is that if you are successfully engaging with roughly 100,000 patients in the United States on either a precondition or a condition, the accrued revenue potential for that startup company is going to be $48 million. That sounds not much for the big Fortune 50 companies in the Valley, but that's a lot for a startup company to scale, right? There are millions and millions of customers where you can refine your customer clientele potential. Okay, my last slide. Start with the use case, right? Is it useful? If it is not useful, it's got to be at least entertaining, right? That's what the founder of 5-Hour Energy Drink, Manoj, said. It's got to be at least entertaining. If it's not useful and not entertaining, it's useless. Don't do it, right? It's got to be accurate. You got to be accurate. You cannot repeat Theranos. You got to be accurate, right? This is another opportunity in getting this right. So you need CE mark, FDA approval, clear waiver, all of that in place. You got to be secure in healthcare. At least HIPAA compliant. You need to comply to all the security requirements. Ecosystem, we spoke about it. It's either committed or it's a waste of time, right? If you have a business plan with each ecosystem partner, if it is staffed, it's a good thing to do. If it's just on paper and a press release, don't do it, it will fire back. And the last one is the business model, right? How do you make money? Who's your customer? How do you make money? Who's your customer? Do you sell hardware? Do you sell software? Do you sell both? Do you sell a subscription-based revenue model? Do you have renewables and consumables? All of that stuff actually matters, right? How do you make money in IoT? Thank you very much.